Now we enter part 4, the immune battlefield. We are tackling autoimmune hemolytic anemia or AIHA, specifically breaking down the war between warm and cold antibodies. Let's head to the front lines. To understand AIHA, you must realize that the threat is not inside the cell, it's outside. Look at the normal blueprint on the left. You have healthy stem cells producing mature erythrocytes. The intrinsic genetics are flawless. There are no enzyme defects, no membrane mutations, the factory works perfectly. But look at the rogue system on the right. The patient's own immune system weaponizes aggressive antibodies to hunt perfectly healthy red blood cells in the peripheral blood. The body is literally attacking itself. In this war, there are two factions. Let's look at two very different patients. Patient 1 is the warm attack. She is a 35-year-old female with a history of SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. She presents with sudden severe fatigue, jaundice, and a palpably enlarged spleen. Her hemophilia, spherocytes. Patient 2 is the cold attack. He is a 65-year-old male with a recent Mycoplasma pneumonia infection. He presents with acrocyanosis, painful purple fingers and toes in the cold. His hemophilia, massive agglutination. Let's break down the warm attack first. Patient 1 has warm AIHA, which is driven by IgG. Look at the mnemonic on the screen. Warm weather is great, so warm is IgG. What is the target location? IgG loves the central warm core of the body, right at 37 degrees Celsius. And what is its function? It acts as an opsonin, a biological eat-me tag that coats the red blood cell. So what happens to that tagged cell? Welcome to the splenic Pac-Man bite. The IgG-coated RBC travels down to the spleen. The splenic macrophages see the IgG eat-me tag and grab the cell. But they don't swallow it whole. They act like Pac-Man. They take a literal bite out of the red cell membrane and spit the rest back out. Because it lost membrane, the cell tightens into a rigid sphere. It becomes a spherocyte. Eventually, that spherocyte gets trapped in the spleen and gets entirely devoured, resulting in pure extravascular hemolysis. But wait, we have a spherocyte dilemma. On your exam, both hereditary spherocytosis and warm AIHA present with spherocytes, jaundice, and splenomegaly. How do examiners expect you to tell them apart? The answer lies in the direct Coombs test, which we will look at shortly. First, let's look at the triggers. What triggers the warm attack? Memorize these 4 categories. First, idiopathic. This is the most common cause. We often never find the trigger. Second, autoimmune diseases. SLE is an absolute massive board buzzword here. Third, malignancies, specifically CLL. And finally, drugs. Watch out for penicillin or methyl-dopa acting as haptens to trigger the immune response. Now let's flip to patient 2, cold AIHA driven by IgM. Look at the mnemonic, cold ice cream, so cold is IgM. Look at the structure. IgM is a massive pentameric snowflake with 10 binding sites. It hates body temperature. Its target location is in the extremities, the fingers, toes, and nose, where the blood drops below 30 degrees Celsius. When the blood travels to the cold fingers, the massive IgM snowflakes activate. Because they have 10 arms, they glue multiple RBCs together. This agglutination causes localized traffic jams, turning the fingers purple, causing acrocyanosis. But it gets worse. IgM activates the complement cascade, leaving behind a deadly C3b tag. When the blood returns to the warm core, the IgM falls off, but the C3b tag remains. Liver Kupffer cells see the tag and devour the cells. These are modified macrophages present in the liver. Or the complement cascade goes all the way to MAC, causing direct intravascular hemolysis. What triggers the cold attack? First, infections. The absolute highest yield buzzwords are Mycoplasma pneumonia, which is walking pneumonia, and EBV, infectious mononucleosis. If you see a patient recovering from Mycoplasma who gets painful blue fingers in the cold, it is cold AIHA. Second, malignancies, specifically B-cell lymphomas. Now, how do we prove there is an immune war happening? We use the direct Coombs test or DAT. The test asks one question. Are antibodies already stuck to the patient's RBCs right now? We add Coombs reagent, an anti-human antibody. If the patient's RBCs are coated with their own IgG or C3b, the reagent links them together. causing massive visible clumping in the test tube. If it clumps, the test is positive and the diagnosis is AIHA. Do not confuse this with the indirect Coombs test. As the slide shows, the indirect test is used for blood cross-matching before a transfusion, or for checking pregnant Rh-negative mothers to see if they have free-floating antibodies in their plasma before they attach to the cells. Let's lock this down. Here is the AIHA master summary matrix. Antibody, warm is IgG, cold is IgM. Temperature, warm is 37 degrees Celsius core, cold is less than 30 degrees Celsius extremities. Morphology, warm gives you spherocytes and cold gives you RBC agglutination. Hemolysis, warm is in spleen, cold is in liver and intravascular. Triggers, warm is SLE and drugs, cold is mycoplasma and EBV. Diagnostic test, both have a positive direct Coombs test. Take a screenshot. How do we navigate the civil war? Look at the tactics on the screen. For warm AIHA, the goal is to stop the antibodies. We deploy heavy immunosuppressants like corticosteroids, use rituximab, or perform a splenectomy to remove the macrophage threat. For cold AIHA, the goal is to avoid the trigger. Keep the patient warm and treat underlying infections. But look at the massive red warning at the bottom. Splenectomy is completely useless in cold AIHA. The destruction occurs in the liver Kupffer cells and blood vessels, not the spleen. Do not let examiners trick you into removing a cold AIHA patient's spleen. And with that, the immune war is understood. You know the warm assassins and you know the cold clumping. But what happens when the antibodies are gone and the blood vessels themselves turn into microscopic razor wire blenders? In our next class, we will dive into the microangiopathic hemolytic anemias, TTP and HUS.